Ladies and gentlemen, internationally renowned Australian horseman and entertainer Guy McLean is a proud Australian that has taken his beloved country to the world through his horsemanship, bush poetry, double-handed stock whip mastery to show what his treasured homeland is all about. From the Queensland bush to the bright lights of Las Vegas and New York City and every major equine festival in between, please put your hands together for Guy McLean.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been wonderful performing with you here for the last 4 days. And I want to thank everybody for turning up and supporting the fantastic heavy horses and supporting horses and the agriculture industry in general. I think shows like the Big E are extremely important, and they're more important now than they ever were, because there's a lot of things that are changing in the world. A lot of people assume that we shouldn't have animals around anymore, and I can tell you right now that I don't want to live in a world that there's no animals. I certainly don't want to live in a world where there's no horses. Horses have been my greatest heroes. They've been my dearest friends, my greatest confidence, my best teachers, and by far my best students. And so thank you to the Big E for allowing someone like me to come along and share with you. Please give them a big round of applause for supporting the horse industry. Thank you. So, I've brought out my 4 best mates, and I want you to know I feel very blessed that I have not 1 but 3 teams like this throughout 2 different countries. I have 11 horses here in America, all of which do the same sort of work as you're seeing here. This is my number 1 team. This team will go to Washington, D.C. and perform in the Verizon Center. They'll also go to the Royal Winter Fair and perform there. And we were booked to be at WEG, at the World Equestrian Games, but because of the cyclone, we didn't get there. So this is my number 1 team, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to pick up here and ask all 4 of them to side pass to the left. They're not connected in any way through string or rope or gear, but they're connected through their minds and their emotions here. Oh, aren't you nice? That's lovely. You're allowed to clap them. They love it. See, what you've got, because you've got my number 1 team, the big gelding on the far right, he's performed in front of 20,000 screaming fans at Australia's 2nd biggest show, Brisbane Ekka. So he's kind of wondering where all his fans are at. The big gelding in the middle, the bay horse, he was started in front of 5,000 people at an event called Road to the Horse. In 3 days, he went from being uneducated to winning a world championship. And Lightning, he's not been in front of that many crowds, but he thinks that he's gorgeous and people should clap no matter where he is. So thank you. And Spin Abbey, well, this boy is a humble boy from the Australian bush, but he is an absolute superstar. A lot of people ask me if all 4 of them are educated to ride, and they most certainly are. They're all ridden to the very highest level that I can teach each one of them, so that when they come into this arena, this actually is a joyful experience. It's a lot easier than working for a living. But the horse that I ride him for one reason and one reason only, is because he's the greatest horse I've ever sat astride. And it's wonderful to say that. In 20 years' time, I'll be talking about him still, and I won't be riding him. Here I'm going to pick him up here and see if he can canter sideways for you. And when I say see if he can, I know he can. He's been doing it since he was 3. And all it takes for me to do this is to look down the arena. Same for this way. If I'm to look down the arena this way, he'll there. If I'm to think backwards, he'll canter backwards for me, because that's how special he is. If I want him to do flying changes every stride, I just have to open up my other leg and say, can you skip for me, Spin Abbey? He's so wonderful. And a lot of people assume that I ride these horses every day, that there's a lot of work on them. Spin Abbey hadn't been ridden until a month ago. He hadn't been ridden for 6 months. I've been over in Australia performing and working, and these horses were resting in this beautiful country. So he's only been back, he's only had probably 10 rides in the last 6 months. But when you're a professional, you don't forget. So here I'm going to ask him to stop and turn just like he would if he was working a cow. And now I'm going to ask him to do what he's known for in his breed. You'll notice he wears a green and gold blanket, and that is of the Australian Stock Horse Society. I'm going to look at these 3 horses here. have them move off. Now I'm going to show you some of the skills that we learnt as children. As a stockman is to Australia what the American cowboy is to America. And we were always taught as children to go very quietly around our stock. When you're a 6-year-old boy on a fat little pony, all you want to do is chase and yell and scream, because that's what 6-year-old boys do. But we were told to go quietly around our stock. We were taught that we could position our animals by where we looked. If I want these horses to go over here, I get to the outside eye here and my body pushes them this way. If I want them to change direction and go this way, I can side pass over here and send them that way. It's nowhere near as much fun as screaming and yelling on a fat pony as 6-year-old, but in saying that, this is how we keep our animals in good condition, how we get them to market safe and sound. And when I say animals, our sheep, our cattle, obviously these horses aren't going to market. These horses are my family. Here I'm going to push on all 3 of them and have them go at a little more speed. And the idea when we're working with stock is to keep them together. Obviously if they separate, you can't get them to market. So I'm going to make sure that they all stay together. I want them to continue a circle off here to the right. Now I'm going to change my position and put a circle to the left. If I get closer to their tails, they'll go faster. I'm going to push them in a fast circle here to the left. You'll notice that one of the animals is a little fatter than the others. It's because he doesn't run as much. Can you go to work, Ozzy? Ozzy says, I don't get this fat and shiny from running around. Ozzy's from Texas, that's how he talks. Here I'm going to get around them and go a little quicker. When I get past their eye, these horses know to stop. So I would do the same with sheep, with cattle, or with horses, that we can leave them standing still and ride around them like this. And basically what I'm doing now is I'm creating a fence around them. So I could have them in a big open pasture, and I could ride around them and they would stay in position and they would feed and eat, and we wouldn't need a fence with them. Here I'm going to ride over and call them to me. When I raise my whip, it's a cue for them to bring their bodies to me. I'm going to take that boy here, pick up my number 1 Hope, pick up little Lightning, and have them work back together as a team. Thank you. Now, you'll notice that through this entire demonstration so far that I haven't done 2 things. I haven't fed them or praised them a whole lot, and I also haven't yelled at them, and I haven't degraded them at all. A lot of people assume that to get something done, you either have to be giving something the whole time or to be berating or pulling down the whole time. So people say to me, Guy, it's wonderful to see that you don't discipline your horses at all. And then other people say, Guy, you don't reward your horses at all. And both of those statements are wrong. I discipline and reward all the time, but it's in a way that the horses understand. My horses have learnt to find real value in being here with me. They're not here because I'm giving them a treat. They're not here because I'm patting and loving on them. They say that when we're in this position, life is very, very easy for us. The little white gelding still to this day likes to run off every now and then. He even did something on his own then without being asked, so I just send him back. The other horses look at him as if to say, Lightning, get your gear together. You're silly, you're wasting a lot of energy. That's what Ozzy says. So they learn to find real use in here. And if they are to run away or not be with me, I just say, what a great idea. You stay away, but if you're lucky, I'll let you come back and be part of the team. Here you'll notice Ozzy is a little bit away from me there. So I'm going to pick up here. And you'll notice that if I just keep queuing there, he stays away from me. So what I'll do is I'll change my position. And I'll say, Ozzy, bring your body closer. Now try again. This time he stays a little closer to me. He's away from me there. And the reason I'm working on these things now is because these horses will be worked maybe once, maybe twice more today. Then they may have a 2-week break before I ride or work them again. So I'm using this opportunity to make sure that they are exactly where I want them to be when I work with them in 2 weeks. It's very important to me, as that people know, that the reason they do these things is because they say to me, Dad looks after us. And when I say Dad, I mean me. They'll say, Dad looks after us so well. But when you're looked after really well, you have to pay for that. Nothing in this world is free. And anyone who thinks that things are free, Lightning thinks that things are free. Anyone who thinks that they're going to get good things in life for free are being fooled. We have to go out and do wonderful things to get wonderful things in return. So I do a lot for my horses. You look at the way they're fed, the way they're kept. They will never go hungry, they will never go cold, but for that, they have to earn it. And they earn it by traveling all over America and Canada and sharing their skills with everybody. And that's important to me, and I do the same thing. I have a wonderful life, but because of what I'm prepared to put into it. I'm going to leave them standing still there now and pick my horse up here. And look at them, and they're a little out of position. That was my fault. I didn't line them up properly. Sorry about that. It's good having a little bit of OCD. That's how you get things perfect. Here, I'm going to bring Lightning to me. And I'm really proud of young Lightning, because if you've been watching my demos the last few days, he's been leaving me when I call him. He doesn't go very far. He just closes his eyes and pretends I'm not there. But I worked him this morning, and he's really good. Here, I'm going to go through this gap, do a flying change and go through this gap. You'll notice as I go with my horses that a couple of them watch me more than the others. You'll notice Lightning can't take his eyes off me. He's the one behind my tail. You'll notice Ozzy is basically asleep. He's the one that's behind my tail now. Hope is in between the both of them. He is a highly obedient horse. He is the number one horse in my team, and he was the most difficult to train out of all three of them. So people think that just because you have a wonderful horse like this, that's how it always was, but it isn't. He's become that way because he's just a wonderful boy. Here, I'm going to stop here and see if Lightning will come. Lightning, I'm going to get a little closer. Lightning. It's hard for him to hear because my voice comes out of the speaker box, so I'm going to get close enough. There, the magnet works. That's good. The magnet's broken from a distance. Thank you. I'm going to leave those two boys there. And a lot of what I do is very natural. It's all about reading a horse's natural desires and needs. And then a lot of it, what happens with that is very unnatural. It's very unnatural to see three horses standing tail to tail like that. The only time you'll ever see it is if they're running backwards, kicking at each other. Stallions will quite often do that. They'll put their hips on each other and they'll kick until one moves away. But these horses are doing it out of obedience. Here I'm going to see if I can ride through the gap between their tails. Spin Abbey gets all excited here because he says, "There's no room, Dad. One of you's going to have to move for this to work." Excuse me. Very nice. Good boy. So I'm going to take them all here. I'm going to step around them. You'll notice when they go to move, I'm very quick to jump into position. The horseman in me teaches the horses to do everything for me, to basically line up and be in place and help me a lot. When they don't do exactly what I need, the stockman in me allows me to jump in position and get things done. So when they're in complete control, they do everything I need just because I ask. When they're a little out of control, I can fix it very quickly because of the skills I've learnt working wild cattle and wild stock. I'm going to take Ozzy, I'm going to bring Lightning. This beautiful big boy that I'm about to do this with now hasn't done this all weekend, and I very rarely do it with him anymore because he's so wonderful. But he's acting like he's about 2.5 today instead of 18. So I'm going to show you the very first horse that ever did this for me properly. His father is the first horse that I ever side passed one horse over the top of. This horse is the very first horse probably in the world that ever had 3 horses side passed over. And he's probably only done it 10 times for me in the last 5 years. I use Ozzy and Lightning for this. But he remembers, and he's probably thinking, I probably should listen to Dad a little more, and I won't have to do this for another 6 years. Don't feel a need to clap. This is very easy. It takes no time to do. Aren't you nice? So, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I know, we're here until 4:30. We perform again at 4:30. We were written down from the marketing at 6 o'clock, so not going to be on at 6 today, but if someone's here, we'll perform for you. Thank you so much for having us. Enjoy the rest of your show. We hope to see you in Massachusetts sometime again real soon. Thank you. Come on, boys.
Guy McLean, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be performing again after our Big E 6-horse hitch showdown this afternoon. Having a nice Big E send-off for him one more time.
Thanks, fellas. Thank you.
So that does wrap us up here until about 12:30. We'll get back underway with our Classic Kart Series final and our Haflinger 6-horse hitch championship. Following that, we'll do the showdown.